Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video where today I'm going over the June stat show for Kill Team, covering all the global tournament stats. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the stat show today. Do you like it? Hey, let me know. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as a Patreon and an affiliate link if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today is all about the June tournament stats. The stat show for June, where we gather all the data from best coast pairings and compare it and review all for you guys. Once again, this is all done by Hot Sauce Teddy, so thanks goes to him, because without him it wouldn't be possible. So remember to say thanks if you see him. And also remember the same pitfalls apply with the stats. We only gather stuff from BCP or tournament TOs that send us data. And if you don't use BCP and want to send your data to us, just hit us up and when we can incorporate them in the stats. But yeah, that's quickly out of the way. Let's look through June. It's so good. So good. All right. Okay, so for the win rates, first our Lucidina Starstriders. I'd like to point out Lucidina Starstriders got buffed last data slate, apparently because they didn't do too well in May. And I didn't realize 1 month could dictate the kill team. But it looks like for June, they're on a 79% win rate. Now, this is actually only from 0.7% of the meta, which is actually about 30 games. But for 30 games, okay, the number of players using them, not great. 100%, it's not that good. But oh my gosh, it's a small sample size, but this is ridiculous. 30 games is still 4 or 5 tournaments. Well, more than that. Well, multiple tournaments worth of data. But anyway, look, we've also got Galloppox Infected at 68.3% win rate and Void Dancer Troop at 56.6%. Void Dancer Troop have gone up actually to a lot of players, while Galloppox is still quite decently represented. And this is the 7th month, I think, and instead of just trying to, beat this dead horse again, I'm just going to post this image. All right, so you see this lovely image here. Yeah, that's how I feel right now. And every time I see these two kill teams doing exactly the same, I will just post this image, because now I'm just tired trying to explain these kill teams, which are obviously fine. So anyway, let's look at Chaos Cult. And I have to say, I think people were overblowing it with Chaos Cults. I'm actually quite disappointed at the Chaos Cult players. Look, you're only on 69%. While that's very nice, yeah, that is nowhere near the 70, 75, or 80% we were expecting. And I think Chaos Cults, you players are a disgrace. How dare you perform this badly? Anyway, look at this, 4.2% free, 4.2% medicine usage the first month. Anyway, look, Felgor's Ravagers in their second month still above 60. It's great. I love this meta, right? It's going to be so fun. I can't wait for 3 more months of this. I'm so excited. And that's all the overperforming teams, which is great. And then we got Hand of the Archon. They did quite well for June. Not bad. We've got all the usual suspects. Warp Coven actually have gone up to 48%, which is really good. Hunterclade, they've dropped. They're still in the healthy range. Vet Guardsmen have dipped down a bit, but they're all in the healthy range. Imperial Navy Breachers just at 45%, which is still good. And Wormblade, even though their usage is quite low, they're basically in 45% as well, which is pretty good. So below 45%, we have Farstalker Kimban at 42%. Well, 41%, right? Which is kind of a shame to see them underperforming this month. Hyrotech Circle are down to 41%, and it's probably due to the Inquisition players, but let's be fair, the rest of the top teams aren't good for them, right? Then below those two teams, we have Exaction Squad at 35% with Hearthkin Salvagers, and then Kazakin have dropped down to 34% after nearly being 50% last 2 months. And then obviously we have Pathfinders at 31% going. Now we started at the top and now we're here. So, it's It's a shame. And also there was one Comrite player who got 91.7%, which is great. That's a great statistic for you compendium players there. Oddly, Talons the Emperor is still a popular kill team, 55%, not bad. And then we go to GT Plus results, remember, so this is tournaments with 4 more rounds and 16 or more players. Well, this is due to Star Striders have 100% win rate from one player, with 4 who went undefeated at a 4-round tournament. Didn't win, but went undefeated. Thank goodness that kill team got buffed. It definitely needed it. Anyway, look, we got Galapox and oddly, Void Taunts of Troop have gone down to 54%, so I guess that justifies them not being nerfed this round. Anyway, so Chaos Colts actually go down to 67%, so they're actually worse at longer, bigger tournaments by 2%. Amazing. Felgor's Ravagers go down by 5%, and Inquisition, I forgot to mention them. They're nearly at 60%, right? So they actually do better in long form tournaments. Inquisition is still a problem. If you don't think Inquisition are a problem, I'm very sorry to break the news to you. But if we look at who is actually the shock faction in above 55% for GT Plus, it's Warp Coven, 2.8%. That's a good usage rate. 57% is really good. So I'm not sure how they did this, but honestly, I am happy to see Warp Coven, right? I'm going to pretend everyone above them doesn't exist, and I'm going to be happy at that Warp Coven result. Once again, we have a good range of kill teams in the 45 to 55%. So below 45, we have Legionary, who once again have repeated the trend of just not doing too well when it comes to like GT Plus format events. Like, they're not doing horribly, but once again, another month of 42%. So it's quite interesting to see. Hunterclade also dropped down a bit to 40%. Kroot are down to 38%, along with Wormblade. Pathfinders oddly do a little bit better, holding at 38%. And then Kazakin, they do slightly better at 37%. Corsairs, tanking horribly down to 34%. Exaction Squad down to 31%. And Harkin Salvagers down to 24%. So that's really great. That's really good to see. Oddly, when you look at compendium teams, comparing Talons to the Emperor, they do horribly at 4-round or larger tournaments. So they're really doing good at 3-round tournaments for compendium players. So that's nice to see. So when we break down the data, as you can see, 19 games for Lucidity and Star Striders. It's not many. It's probably about 4, 5 players. Probably 5. Actually, maybe 6, considering most, only one of them was a 14-round tournament, like a 4-round tournament. But overall, it's not a great data set, but still, look at that win rate, right? Chaos Cult's 135 games for their first month. It's going to go up. Galapox holding around 70, but still doing really well. Felgor's Ravagers, I think, have gotten more popular, which is great. They're neck and neck with Chaos Cults, right? Inquisitorial Agents at 83%. So, it's not 100, but it's still actually pretty good for their first month, especially as they're kind of like a dark horse, because a lot of people have been trying to sleep on them. But, wow, they're doing really well at a near 60% win rate at 83 players, or 83 games. Void Dancer Troop have actually gotten more popular at 151 games. Hand of the Archon holding their own. Orc Commandos are still have actually dropped down a bit to 216 games, but now they're third most popular. Phobos holding at 100, Intercession at 378, so up on last month, but still the most popular faction in the game. And then we've got Legionary retaking the crown as second most popular faction in the game. Veteran Guardsmen holding their own at above 143 players. Corsairs 100, games, sorry. Hierotech with a good number of games as well, 112. And Kazakin with 103. So Kazakin are really popular now, but they did horribly this month. And you can see they only won 31 games and lost 64. And I don't know how much that is due to the new teams. I think it's likely due to the new teams because they weren't doing this bad last month. And then look, we got Pathfinders. They won 18 games and lost 41. It's depressing. But then, the most popular faction now for Compendium are Talons of the Emperor. So, they're holding out. Oddly, not a good month for Death Guard, who have dropped off a bit. But, Talons of the Emperor seem to be quite popular for Into the Dark events, which makes sense. So looking at the global meta, we've actually had more games and more players this month. So once again, we've had slightly less smaller events, but more bigger events. So overall, we've had one more event than May, which is good. And we've had a lot more players again actually tying for April, which is really good, or thereabouts. So it looks like May was just a slight dip, considering it's holidays for most people. So a good thing to see. And once again, more countries are joining the global map for tournaments, which is what we really want to see. Once again, this is just the win rate graph, right? It's to better represent those numbers you see. So green is good, yellow, ooh, you either need maybe a nerf, maybe a buff, right? Below or above those ranges is bad, right? Really bad. And we can see the underperforming kill teams, right? It's the usual suspects joined by Kroot and Hyrotech Circle, which is especially sad for Hyrotech Circle. And then if we look above, high in the sky, you've got Elucidity and Starstriders waiting to crash into the meta. And then you've just got like Chaos Cults, Galapox Infective, and Felgor's Ravagers, like just floating, rising ever higher with Inquisitorial Agents shooting up behind them. And as you can see, it's the most interesting thing about this thing is just seeing how back and forth the Commando and Legionary players. I like to think the Legionary players got upset the Commando players overtook them last month and now have, you know, done the same. So I'm hoping the Commando players can unite and overtake Legionary. Intercession is just still the most popular, but they're Marines. What do you expect? So this is a new aspect of the stats. So I actually have all access to the stats and I can see win rates and, like, you know, which factions are doing better against what, all that kind of stuff. I don't show it in the stats because it's way too long, right? So good recommendation I got from people, feedback from the last stat show, was instead of showing them all, show the notable best factions that are beating the top factions. All right, so let's look at Felgor's Ravagers. As you can see from the global stats, there are unfortunately, now this is over 2 months worth of data, right? There are only globally 3 factions that have a positive win rate into Felgor's Ravagers. So number 1, Felgor's Ravagers, who have like a 53% win rate against themselves, which I'm not sure how we got to that, but there we are. Commandos, oddly so Commandos have a 54% win rate into Felgor's Ravagers out of 11 games. So there is some hope there. And then obviously Chaos Cults, who I think have a 60% win rate or something, is actually probably close. I think 55% win rate against Felgor's Ravagers. It's actually quite close. But if they're great, it's even, like 50%, but it's only from like 1 game. Unfortunately, the only factions who are beating Felgor's Ravagers are themselves, Commandos, and Chaos Cults. So yay. Here's the same for Chaos Cults. To put it markedly, yeah, the only faction beating Chaos Cults at the moment is Galapox Infected from 3 games globally, right? It was depressing looking at specifically this one. This is the faction I've seen with the most, like 60% or higher matches. Like they have several 100% win rates against certain factions, right? Really depressing. Really depressing to see. Oddly, they're 50-50 against Void Dancer Troop themselves and Imperial Agents and Corsairs, but notably only Galapox are beating them, like consistently. So if that's useful to you, there you go. And finally for Inquisition, they have actually a lot more 50% matches, but the only factions that are beating Inquisition are Exaction Squad, Elucidity and Starstriders, and Wormblade. So there is some interest there. Unfortunately, right, the only common link there, if you wanted to draw a parallel between all 3 factions, the one faction that is either doing 50% or higher into Chaos Cults, Felgor's Ravagers, and Inquisition, is Chaos Cults. So hopefully this made some use to you. All right, so for the June stats overview, we're going into horrible meta, and you know what? I'm going to enjoy it every step of the way, right? This is only the tip of the iceberg, right? I want Chaos Cults and Felgor's Ravagers to get 70% every month up until September, right? I want this meta to be disgustingly depressing to watch every month, right? I want to add more factions to that image I made of that meme, right? Just me going, like, it's great, right? I'm enjoying this because it's so depressing. I'm beyond seriously caring, right? Nothing I can do apart from just watch the train wreck happen, right? We are now at what, 5 factions above 60%? You know, we had a balanced data slate that refused to touch Void Answer Troop and Galapox Infected, and now we have this glorious meta, which is assumedly only going to get worse. It's quite bad, right? That like Inquisition, Chaos Cults, and Felgors all opened at 60% or above, and Felgors have done it for 2 months in a row, and they all have high usage, right? It's not like they had a few games, like you could argue Elucidity and Star Striders this month was a blip. That is not what the stats show for those factions, and it's probably only going to get worse, especially as Chaos Cults rise in popularity, and probably so will Inquisition, and Felgors are just consistently there, right? I thought that Felgors would actually drop off. They are actually still quite popular. I think the main problem is everyone's hating on Chaos Cult so much, they've ignored Felgors, Ravagers, and Inquisition, which is, you know, if you look outside of those factions, everyone's doing pretty well. Like the majority of the bespoke teams are doing pretty well. Like shout outs to Warp Coven, they had a great result this month in GT Plus results, getting 57% win rate, which is really good. You know, it's good to see. Disappointingly, Hyrotech Circle and Fast Talker Kinban dropping down below 45%. Sad, but I'm pretty sure it's due to Chaos Cults, Felgor, and Inquisition, especially for Hyrotech Circle, where the Inquisition matchup is probably the worst matchup in the game right now. Like just on paper, it's like a 9-1 matchup. You know, Pathfinder's just doing horribly. No idea why they keep doing so badly anymore. At this point, I think the Pathfinder players have decided to think they're Phobos, and if they keep doing badly consistently enough, they'll start getting tons of nerfs. I mean, tons of buffs, right? And they're like, it paid off for Phobos for the greater good. And then, you know, Hearthkin Salvagers, they're just going to stay there at that win rate. Exaction Squad, not surprising to see where they are. Notably, this is the last month before their buffs, so we'll see how their buffs will do. It might change. We're not sure. But it's weird, right? Like if you ignored the S tier, we'd probably be in an okay meta right now. So I don't really know what else to add with the stats. It's just I'm enjoying it, like as like a masochistic kind of thing. I find it hilarious the state this meta is in, and it's gonna last there for 3 months. Like because normally I'd add, I'm interested to see what's going to happen in July. I genuinely am. Only because we're going to have even more golden ticket events, like huge global events are going to happen. I think we've got Gen Con in July. We've got the US Open. I think it's Tacoma, right? 84 players. Amazing. Can't wait to see how many Cults and Felgors and Inquisition are there, right? You know, we've got so many majors happening. And in August, there's going to be so much more. So I can't wait to see all these tournaments. You know, I've got people messaging me like, John, I spent hundreds of pounds or dollars on tickets. My only choice is either to refund them or switch to Chaos Cults, etc. And I'm like, so, you know, this is probably going to be how the stats go for the next 3 months. I would be very surprised if they changed, you know. Maybe we could be lucky and Chaos Cults and Felgors and Inquisition just bottle it in the next month. Who knows? Who knows? But that's it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the stat show. Did you agree, disagree? Do you like it? Are you like, yay? I'll have an article version of this in the episode description below, either when the video goes up or later in the day. And remember, I've got Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Sam, Nick, Mr. Meat Ward, John Thomas, Captain Murder, Dad of Goldens, Ben, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sandra. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me. Help support the channel. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me today. Remember, thanks goes to Hot Sauce Teddy. Without him, none of this would be possible. And yeah, we're in worst meta I think I can remember. You know, even the Chow Nath meta wasn't this bad. Like, my gosh. So I don't know. I'm just gonna, like, honestly, reading the faction pairings was depressing. Just going, wow, it really is this bad. Like seeing who actually had a chance into these factions from the stats, right? It's like, you know, the stats aren't everything, but they're a good litmus test, and it's just like, I need to think of more inventive ways to see how I'm going to do July, August, and September. But until then, remember, no matter what the stats say, there's always a chance to win if you're playing Chaos Cults and you can roll a crit.